can be time-consuming, stressful, and that's why here at Positive, we have what's called a 6-star team, a full-service team that provides integrated wealth and property investing solutions and services simply designed to help you progress towards your goal of passive income through your property portfolio, folks. Make sure you check out our other podcasts on the Positive Mentor Network. Not only is there Wealth Coffee Chats, there's the Urban Property Investor. Drops every Wednesday with straight talking investing strategies and lessons with Sam Saggers. Property Investor Tales. This is where our clients, you guys, share real life stories from property investing, hosted by some of our advisors and strategists. And that's done every fortnight, dropping every Monday. Wealth, Wine and Wisdom, folks, that debriefs the week that was in the world of finance and property, hosted by yours truly, Jason Witten and Andy Fenton on Fridays. Hey, good morning, folks.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wealth Coffee Chat.
Hope you're well, folks, wherever you are.
There it is, team. Morning. Morning, wherever you're tuning in from today.
Early bird gets the worm, they say. Here at Positive, we offer a 6-star team. It's a team that help you at every stage of your wealth creation journey.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome along to Monday, the 13th of October, this edition of Wealth Coffee Chats. My name is Karen Chavez. I'm a property investment coach here at Positive Real Estate. And this morning, I thought I might come along and one of my superpowers here is actually helping people make decisions really based around numbers. And we talk a lot as investors about knowing your numbers and not making emotional decisions and letting numbers guide you. But the reality is a lot of people still let the emotion kind of come into play, and they may not always fully understand the numbers they're actually looking at. So I thought I'd bring along an example today of one of our clients who had to make a decision not too long ago about whether they were going to live in their home or they were going to rent out their home and go and rent a different lifestyle that they might like to do. So there was a few numbers behind that, and there's obviously some emotion behind that because a lot of people like the idea of living in their home. And we've got others that maybe like the idea of renting and having a different lifestyle and being able to move around a little bit. Before I dive into that, I can see a few people are online. So come in and maybe let me know whereabouts you are. I'm actually in Sydney. Hey, Courtney, lovely to see you online. A big shout out to Rosie, who's given me a hand this morning because it's Monday morning and the brain wasn't quite firing. So I needed a bit of hand with the tech to get this up and running. So I'll share my screen in a minute. I'm going to show you some really quick numbers. Now, I don't have time to dive into all the detail behind those numbers, but I just want to give you a bit of an example of some of the stuff that we actually work through with our clients. Hey, Bob, nice to see you online this morning as well. All right, so let me just bring up my little window here. So here is, let's call this client Leanne, just for a name. So Leanne needed to make a decision, it was a few months ago, about whether or not to keep living in her home or move out. She's on her own, her kids are grown up. Basically, she was living alone and had an opportunity to sort of maybe change her lifestyle around a little bit. So when we had a look at the numbers, for her to continue to live in her home in her current situation, it was going to cost her, she's also got an investment property, and it was going to cost her over almost $1,400 a week, $1,400 a week to live in her home and hold her investment property, and that's after tax. Hey, good morning, Scott. Nice to see you there, and Emily. So then we thought, okay, well, what does it look like if she was to rent out her home? So we did a scenario where we brought those numbers into the mix, and renting out a home, getting some additional tax deductions, depreciation, and all of that into the mix, as well as the rent coming in on her home, meant that her out-of-pocket, hey, Jeff, came down to an after-tax negative amount of $161 a week. Now, this is, again, her home and one investment property. That meant, Rosie, yes, Rosie and I probably have some similar stories in there. Okay, so that means that just by renting out her home meant that she had a saving of about, $1,223 a week. So when you do the math on that, as long as Leanne's actually renting for below that, she's actually saving money. Now, Leanne picked up a bit of a bargain and was able to rent a really nice home on the coast, and she's paying just over $800 a week in rent. So she's able to actually start to put about $400 a week into paying down some debt along the way as well. And in fact, Leanne's decided to now use that $400 a week that she's saving by renting out a home to actually buy another investment property next year. So we have a bunch of tools with our clients where we actually dive into all of those numbers and help to, it's not just bringing it all together, but it's looking like, how do we actually dive into those numbers? And everyone's got different scenarios, everyone's got different things going on. So that's kind of what it all looks like. I can see a few things coming through in the chat. So let me just, I'm going to go back to this screen because I think this is where the numbers really make sense. So nothing like a good bargain that's completely changed how much I can borrow on my next one too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Tim, great example of rent vesting. And I think, for a lot of people, as a coach, like I've been doing this for over 10 years now, and this is probably one of the questions I get almost every single month from people is, do I buy a home or do I rent vest? What does it look like? If you're living in one of the capital cities in Australia, like the median house price now in Australia is now pretty much $1 million to have a home, unless you're buying a smaller apartment or living outside of one of the capitals. So sometimes we might look at it and go, well, is there a better way of actually doing this to actually get your money working really hard and do things a little bit differently, tap into the tax system and use the tax system to actually help with how you hold property and then go and rent vest? Some people even do think, I've got another client who is going to rent out their home and they're going to rent a home because they want to get their kids into a particular school, but to sell and buy a home to get into that school zone was going to add pretty much $500,000 to their mortgage. Or they can rent out their home and they can go and rent in that location, and their difference a week was going to be about $50 a week out of pocket that they'd have to pay extra to rent in that school zone, get their kids into that school. They can stay there as long as they want, but ultimately they actually love their home, and once their kids are through school, they'll move back to the home they've got at the moment. So we can use a rent vest lifestyle to work through a lot of different scenarios to help people get their goals. But most importantly, it's coming back to having very specific numbers about how that works for you, making sure that you're looking at all avenues and don't just take it at a high level. Get the detail. And that's one of the things, again, we do that a lot with our clients, just diving into those numbers. So that's my little Wealth Coffee chat for today. I'm keeping this one pretty short and sweet. If anyone's got any questions, happy to run through those. But I just thought, that rent vesting lifestyle for Leanne, who's, kids are grown up, lots of freedom. She's able to change her lifestyle, move around, and it literally costs her the cost of moving to move from house to house. Yeah, Rosie, it's all about the priorities. And again, it's not what works for one person doesn't always work for the next person. So it's really important to get that guidance, get some support around your numbers, and make sure that you're making a good quality decision, not just an emotional decision. I think that's probably one of my main key takeaways for you for today. So make sure you're tuning into Wealth Coffee Chats. These run 9:10 for Sydney, Melbourne time zones, 8:10 for Queensland time zone. And if you're in a different state, please work out your own time zone. But otherwise, that's my Wealth Coffee chat for today. I've loved being here. I'm jetting off for a month's holiday at the end of this week. So I'm switching into holiday mode pretty soon. So look forward to seeing you all on the other side of my break.
Thanks for watching another episode of Wealth Coffee Chat, folks. Make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so you never miss a thing when we go live. Improve your portfolio and investing game, folks, with Wealth Coffee Chats live every morning at 8:10 each weekday. Make sure you join us. Previous episodes are also available wherever you get your podcasts, folks, as well as our other podcasts from the 6 Star team here at positivementor.com.au.